Today's the fourth Sunday of Advent, so today's the day we light all of the outer ring of the Advent wreath, leaving only the center Christ candle that will be lit on Christmas Eve. So today we remember the first ones that we've lit, and we light the candle of hope, the candle of peace, the candle of joy, and today we add the candle of love. With the candle of love, we remember Jesus' words in John 13, verse 34. Jesus said to them, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, that you have love for one another." Think about how you might show love to other people this week, and how that love might bring some joy and some peace and some hope to another life. And join us on Christmas Eve, when the Christ candle, the foundation of it all, is lit.
Good boy. Lang, no? Tapos mo. Uy! Pilipino! Di ba tayo tapos? Talaga. Tsaka na po ba? Okay? High five.
What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthem sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping? This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, all the babe, the Son of Mary. Why lies he in such mean estate, where ox and ass are feeding? Good Christians fear, for sinners hear, the silent word is pleading. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, all the babe, the Son of Mary. So bring him incense, gold, and myrrh, come peasant king to own him. The King of kings salvation brings, let loving hearts enthrone him. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary.
In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests." When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby, who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told.
Maybe it's just me, but this year I feel especially drawn to all the classic Christmas programs. the ones that are broadcast year after year after year. Each one has something that makes it unique and stand out amongst the others. But as I thought about all the ones that are my favorites, I noticed that all of them emphasize that Christmas is a time of transformation. In It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart's character, George Bailey, is transformed by experiencing what the world would have been like without him. Rudolph is transformed as he learns to ignore bullies, embrace who he is, and find his true value. Scrooge is transformed by visiting his past and seeing his ultimate miserable end if he does not change course. And Charlie Brown's transformation is symbolized by the scrawny tree, the Charlie Brown tree as we now call it, that turns into a full and perfect tree with the loving attention of friends. I love all of those stories, but I believe that there's one story that shows the truth about the transforming power of Christmas better than anything else outside of the Gospels. That story? The Grinch. George Bailey, Rudolph, and Charlie Brown are all basically good characters with good hearts who learn to cope with life differently with support and love from friends. Scrooge, on the other hand, is nasty to the core, and his transformation comes through the fear of his own miserable death. But How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss is the only classic Christmas story that I know of where a completely nasty creature is transformed by witnessing the spirit of Christmas. It is Christmas itself, stripped of all of its trappings, that transforms the Grinch. Do you remember the story?
Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Whoville down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a holly wreath, and they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to keep Christmas from coming.
We begin the story with the Grinch, who hates Christmas so much that he wants to make sure that nobody is happy on Christmas. That's a step beyond Scrooge, who doesn't keep Christmas himself, but at least doesn't actively interfere with other people trying to keep it. The goal of the Grinch is to steal Christmas from the whole town, to make every one of them as miserable as he is. And he cheers himself with the thought of the Whos waking up and crying and wailing because nothing is there on Christmas morning. I mean, how twisted is that? To accomplish his ends, the Grinch sneaks into town dressed as Santa, and he steals everything associated with Christmas. He takes the presents, the Christmas trees, the decorations, the flowers, the food for the feast, the logs for the fire out of every house, out of the center of town, all of Christmas packed up in a big sleigh, and he hauls the whole thing up the top of Mount Crumpet to go to the cliff's edge and dump it. But just before the Grinch goes to dump the sleigh off the mountain, his sick heart wants to stop and listen, because he's not going to be satisfied until he actually hears the sobs and the wails of a town in misery, the signal that he has indeed destroyed Christmas, the sign that the happiness of Whoville is under his control. But to his bewilderment, that's not what he hears. Instead of wailing and crying, the Grinch hears the sounds of joy as Christmas carols rise into the air, proclaiming the arrival of Christmas. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. That's the thing that transforms the Grinch. He was not transformed by the love of friends. He didn't have any friends, for one, but nobody even knew he was there. He was not changed by discovering that he was headed for some miserable end. He was quite pleased with what he'd done. The Grinch was transformed by an encounter with something bigger than himself. Something that could not be manipulated by human or Grinchy contrivance. Christmas was associated with a lot of trimmings, but Christmas itself was higher and deeper and more mysterious than all of that. And the Grinch's heart, the heart that had been too small for anything but himself, grew that day to encompass the world. There's only one Christmas classic that I know of, besides The Grinch, that sends that message. And it begins, "And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And all went to be taxed, every one to his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child." The first century also thought that it could steal Christmas. The religious leaders were too worried about competing religious factions to pay any attention. Joseph wanted to disown Mary and a child that wasn't his, and it took an angel in a dream to convince him otherwise. With the baby due any day, Mary and Joseph had to travel 80 miles to Bethlehem to pay their taxes, on foot or on donkey, no car or puddle jumper or anything like that. When they got there, there was no place to stay. They were too poor to bribe someone for a room. And Mary had to give birth in a stable. Not exactly a safe and clean environment at a time when many women died in childbirth. And it didn't end there. Even after they were back home, some foreign astrologers had made their way to King Herod looking for a new baby who they understood was to be called King of the Jews. Herod went on a rampage, slaughtering every baby boy under 2 years old he could find. And Mary and Joseph had to grab Jesus, become refugees, and become asylum seekers in Egypt. But they couldn't stop Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. Christmas without trimmings. A babe in a lowly manger with only a few shepherds paying attention. And the encounter transformed the world. Christmas is coming. Christ will be born. The Christmas story of all time has begun, pandemics notwithstanding. And you and I are in it. What part are you playing? What is your Christmas story? Are you so depressed that, like George Bailey, you want to remove yourself from it all? Or perhaps you're Clarence, the frustrated angel, trying to help somebody else who doesn't really seem to get it. Have the bullies convinced you that you're worthless and you're hiding on the island of misfit toys like Rudolph? Maybe you're Rudolph's father wanting to take back angry words, or his mother worried about his safety. Are you so tired from remembering your past that, like Scrooge, you're in danger of just sleeping through Christmas and pulling the covers over your head? Maybe you find yourself with the Cratchits this year, wondering how to put food on the table while trying to care for a sick and dying loved one. Have you gone as far as the Grinch? So angry with the world that you're ready to burn the whole place down to the ground? Or are you in the valley with the Who's, singing carols under the light of a single star? What is your story? Whatever your situation, both the Grinch and Luke have a message for you. No one can steal Christmas. No matter how powerful you are, you can't take it away from someone else. And no matter how poor and weak and troubled you are, no one can take it from you. Not even a pandemic can steal it. The Christ child will be born. There may not be room in your particular inn. It might be too busy in your end of town for you to notice, or you might be too afraid to step outdoors and notice that there's a really bright star. There might be a Grinch looking at your loving preparations and resenting your joy enough to try to spoil it. The message of the Christmas story, both in Luke and in the Grinch, is that Christmas will come anyway. Christ will be born. It won't matter if you don't have a Christmas tree. It won't matter if there are no presents. It won't matter if there's no food and no fire. If you're with others or if it's just you and the dog. It won't matter that you're finding warmth in the hay of someone else's stable. The setting cannot be too lowly. You can't be too poor or too sick, too young or too old. It doesn't matter whether anyone notices or whether anybody cares. Christmas can't be stolen and it can't be stopped. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. But if just by chance you do happen to be looking, if you stop what you're doing, whether that thing be important or trite, if you pause for a moment and put your hand to your ear, you'll suddenly find that the air is full of music. There are angels in the unseen singing all around you. There are hearts overflowing with love, even if they're flowing through Zoom or through prayer. There are who's down in Whoville, the tall and the small, who are singing without any presents at all. Are you among them? Christmas is something bigger than all of us put together. It's God being born into the world. The Word becoming flesh because the Word becoming just words had gotten us all confused. It's God saying, you're never alone. I've come to live among you, to struggle with you, and to show you how to find peace even when it all goes terribly, terribly wrong. We don't deserve that gift. In fact, we can't deserve it. But we do have to allow it into our hearts. And our hearts may have to expand several sizes to make room for such a vast amount of love and grace. We do have to pause with our Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? Yet it is so. Just as surely as the Grinch heard singing instead of crying, so Jesus is born to us, in us. Where we believed we would hear words of judgment and condemnation, instead there was a baby's cry and the words, Father, forgive them. If we pause our anxieties and frantic struggles for just a moment and realize what Christmas is all about.
What happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say, that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch gained the strength of 10 Grinches plus 2. And now that his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. With a smile in his soul, he descended Mount Crumpet, cheerily blowing hoo-hoo on his trumpet.
Christ will be born. So if you have faith, sing. Sing without ribbons, sing without tags, sing without packages, boxes, or bags. Sing for your loved ones, present and past. Sing through your pain, sing through feast and through fast. Sing for the glory of God come to earth, sing for the gift of our dear Savior's birth. Let your songs fill your house, over Zoom let them roam. Let your voices be heard both abroad and at home. Let them ride on the winds up the side of Mount Crumpet, where a Grinch might be taking his Christmas to dump it. If he pauses to listen to your Christmas song, what will he hear? Will he have to wait long? Will yours be a song that tells Jesus is born, or will it just cry that you're lost and forlorn? The Grinch in the story was saved by the Who's. What would he hear if he listened to you?
Fahu forest, ahu Doris, welcome Christmas, come this way. Fahu forest, ahu Doris, welcome Christmas, Christmas Day. Welcome, welcome, Fahu Rames, welcome, welcome, Tahu Dames. Christmas Day is here at last, so long as we have hands to clasp. Fahu Doris, Tahu Doris, welcome Christmas, come this way. Fahu Forest, Tahu Doris, welcome Christmas, Christmas Day.
We return to God a portion of what has been given to us for God's work in our shared ministry. Friends and members are asked to prayerfully consider giving in support of Crawford's ministries and operations. You can give electronically by clicking the button in the weekly messenger or on our website, or you can mail a check to 34 Dick Street, Winchester, Mass. 01890. Thank you.
Queenberry red, oh holly, oh, whistle high on leafy green, oh, thornberry red, oh holly, oh, good you bless, oh blood red queen, oh. White is the wood round winter queen, brown is the crown you bring, oh, red is the sun we have not seen, Lily, oh goodly queen, oh. Greenberry white, oh mistletoe, whistle high on yellow green, oh. Balmberry white, oh mistletoe, good you bitter bless and clean, oh. Red is the wood round berry white, bitter the tea you bring, oh. Dark is the sleep and whole tonight, bright to the gospel sing, oh. Green evergreen, oh solstice tree, whistle high on needles green, oh. Yule evergreen, oh promise tree, could you die for to be seen, oh. Gold is the wood round promise tree, apple and fire a-gleaming, Adam and Jesus dance with me, right in the Advent dreaming.
In front of our Christmas tree is a traditional nativity scene. For Christians, this is what Christmas is about, the birth of Jesus. But that little manger with a 2D baby Jesus in it is not the only manger we have. Up on the front porch is a 3D manger, and that one doesn't have the baby Jesus in it. It has what the grown-up Jesus told us to do in it, to feed the hungry. At Crawford, we ask people to donate food, both for our own micro-pantry and for the regional food pantry in Woburn. The need is always larger than you would imagine, and this year is on a scale like none other in recent memory. The grown-up Jesus taught us that when we feed a hungry person, we're actually feeding Jesus. In our life-size manger, instead of representing Jesus with a baby doll, we represent him with food for the hungry. On one side of the church is the symbol of the Christmas story, and it looks lovely beside our tree. But on the porch is a concrete example of the Christmas mission, and that's the manger that makes us a church, the manger where Jesus is literally the bread of life. Will you join us in feeding the hungry this Christmas? You can bring donations of non-perishable food to here at the manger at 34 Dick Street in Winchester, or you can donate online, by mail, or by texting Crawford Food to 44321. From all of us at Crawford to each of you, Merry Christmas.